A Los Angeles Superior Court judge has ruled that the Walt Disney Company, through ABC, can be sued for firing 2 employees because they refused to take COVID vaccinations. Let's talk about that and all the implications on That Park Place. Hello, I am Jonas J. Campbell, and I am an investigative reporter for That Park Place. I am here with one of my favorite culture reporters, that Mr. Culture Casino. Are you ready to step up to the table, sir?
Indeed, I'm ready to step up to the table and get on the stand and swear on the Bible. Apparently, so here we go.
Well, well, you could swear from the Bible. There are a few salty words in there, depending on your translation.
Oh well,
here.
no,
But,
I was.
today we're going to talk about, however, a variety of topics. This from Variety. We're going to leave it in because we're moving fast today. ABC faces trial over General Hospital COVID vaccination wrongful termination lawsuit. This by William Earl came out yesterday at 6:15 p.m. Pacific time, otherwise known as 9:15 p.m. Eastern time. This is amazing to me, and Culture, you're the perfect person to talk about it because you follow everything. This says a Los Angeles Superior Court judge has denied ABC's bid to dismiss the COVID vaccination wrongful termination case filed by a father and son who ran the construction and special effects department for ABC's General Hospital. James Wall and his son Timothy Wall sued ABC in 2021, asserting that they were fired from the long-running daytime serial when they refused to get a COVID-19 vaccination on religious grounds. On the heels of Judge Stephen I. Gorvich's February 20th order denying ABC's motion to dismiss the case, the sides are set to meet March 11th to confer on a trial date. Gorvich rejected ABC's assertion of doubt that the Walls' objection to the COVID vaccination were based on firm religious beliefs. ABC argued that the pair's roles were such that they could not receive an exemption to its strict COVID vaccination policy, given the industry-wide restrictions imposed during the pandemic to allow TV and film production to resume. What is your basic reaction to that, Culture? Because I cannot wait to hear your take.
Oh, I have to tell you that I think this is going to be very interesting. It's also going to serve as another test case, and Disney gets to march out in front of things as the new Discovery participant. This is going to put all of these dismissals based around whether or not you believed in getting a vaccination or not. It's going to put all of these different studios under notice that this could be a very real thing, and there are some stiff penalties that can come with some denying people their rights, especially when it comes to religion. This is a much stronger case than the one that was recently dismissed when an actor just didn't want to get it and didn't, do so on religious grounds, at least not from what I'm to understand from reading. So I think this is a real case, Jonas. I think this is, and this, like I said, this should give every studio pause when they try to mandate something that does come in direct conflict with people's religious beliefs and maybe other beliefs as well.
Yeah, this is an amazing thing, and I left the Fortune 500 company world before COVID vaccinations were a thing. But I knew people who worked in HR and were. I don't mean to scare anyone who might be in HR and listening to this right now, but there are conservative-leaning people in your ranks. So just bear that in mind, that there might be enemies among you. There's some very lovely people I know that happen to be working for human resources. I don't mean to impugn the profession. That they basically said that the company was sending out emails to say, and this is a large Fortune 500 company listed sometimes in the Fortune 50, if I can even get that high. He said that he was given an email that he was sent an email that said, you need to comply and you need to verify your vaccination status by this date. And people who are not compliant will risk termination by this date. And those emails kept coming and coming. And he did put in a religious exemption. And he was also aware of other people that were filing religious exemptions. And he was aware of no one in the entire company receiving a religious exemption, which, of course, begs the question of why the religious exemption exists in any way if they're not going to allow it to happen. Because if that mechanism exists and you are never allowed to use it, well, then that calls into question on some legal level why it's there. There has to be some trigger for it to happen. If not now, then when, I should say.
Yeah.
So that being said, this is something that I don't think will affect just ABC, and obviously the Disney company, because this is the focus, generally speaking, of this channel as an entertainment channel. We are very focused on Disney, but this is something that is wide reaching. This will affect more than the entertainment industry here. This will affect probably every large corporation across the globe if they do business in the United States.
Yes.
Is that a fair assessment?
Yes. Yes. This is something that we all predicted would be a real problem for the studios in particular, specifically Hollywood, as in the broadest sense. And I think we were right. I think that this year, but we're about to see it. And again, this is another path of discovery that I'm just not sure Disney's ready for. So,
No, I think you're absolutely correct. When the
uh,
federal government is not able to mandate through OSHA that everyone has to get the vaccination, I don't see how a private corporation is able to mandate it. Or sorry, the federal government tried to make it so that the large corporations had to mandate it. That's an amazing little workaround they tried to pull a
yep,
few years ago. Now, that being said, I'm not going to ask anyone's vaccination status
right.
here. Especially not us remote workers, as it were. So let's continue to read here. The jury, not the judge, must resolve whether plaintiffs, the Walls, had genuine religious beliefs and whether the defendant ABC would have reasonably accommodated plaintiffs without posing an undue hardship. Gorvich wrote. The judge seemed to question whether ABC had made an effort to accommodate the pair and whether it overstated the risk the Walls posed to General Hospital cast and crew members. Defendants argue that plaintiffs could not have been accommodated because they could not maintain a distance of 6 feet from others, interpreting the record in light of the most favorable in the light most favorable to plaintiffs. However, they were only in close proximity to others for between 30 seconds to several minutes while plaintiffs were masked and testing regularly, and the people with whom they had contact were vaccinated, Gorvich wrote. Defendants' own evidence suggests that vaccines were highly effective. This gives rise to a triable issue whether plaintiffs posed an undue risk under these circumstances. Similarly, defendants argue that the highly contagious Delta variant of the virus was prevalent during the fall of 2020. But again, whether plaintiffs' measures and the cast and crew's vaccinations were sufficient is a triable issue. Defendants' arguments must be made to the jury. So this was, as they're stating, this is when they felt like the vaccine, the general idea around the vaccine being 100% effective at stopping transmission, which is obviously called into question now in some way at the danger of saying that on YouTube. There are people out there who don't believe that, and I'm sure our overlords will help correct us in the comments in the blurbs down below. I'm not talking about the comment section. I'm talking about whatever YouTube puts on this video. But it sounds like they will have to be judged by whatever the standards were in 2021, which is a fascinating way to rewind time. I struggle to wrap my head around that. Culture?
Well, they don't want to bring attention to the fact that people were misled
Mm,
all the way back then. I think that's probably wise. Maybe not on the judge's part as far as the instructions go, because again, that doesn't allow for you know the human factor at
yeah.
all. So this is a very interesting case. It's going to measure a whole lot of things, but I think again, my primary focus on all of this is that it's going to bring out into public what HR was doing behind the scenes within Disney, and because again, from the top down, this company may, while ABC may have its own HR department, and I imagine they do. Ultimately, all the directives are coming from the very tippy top of the corporation, and
Right,
that.
and Sonia Coleman is the current head of HR for the Walt Disney Company, and
Yeah.
she's been, let's say, some statements made it to the light of day that don't look favorably on her for her treatment of her employees that had questions about the vaccine, specifically during pregnancy. We've covered a little bit of that here on That Park Place and on the WDW Pro channel over the last year. Of course, more on the Pro channel because this channel is new, of course. That being said, we're going to throw this to the comments and ask, what do you think are going to be the implications of this case? And if it does end for these plaintiffs, will it be appealed? And if it is appealed, of course, will this go all the way to the Supreme Court? I I won't spoil it for you all, but I don't know what the implications of this are. I just know that they will be wide-reaching. Anything that happens here will set precedent in the state of California, and then if it goes to the Supreme Court, it will set precedent for the United States of America,
Yes.
and the republic for which it stands. This could change employment law in the United States. This could affect every company in the United States.
Yes. Yeah, which is why I would imagine that if it is unfavorable and does get appealed and does rise to the current occupants of the Supreme Court, I would say that a lot of employers are going to have to reevaluate a lot of ways they treat employees.
With that being said, like this video if you like this video, share it out if you know someone who might be interested in the implications of this case, and of course, consider subscribing to That Park Place for all the news that should be fun.
Thanks for watching That Park Place News. For more information, consider checking out www.thatparkplace.com. And don't forget to subscribe, share, like, and send this out on your favorite social media accounts.